On this episode, me and Greg talk about places that we would love to photograph but haven't quite yet, go over some recent photographs, and we realize that WWDC is coming up in 2 weeks, so we have a little thoughts about that. That coming up on the iPhoneography podcast.
Hello, everyone. It is Monday, May 23rd, 2022, and this is the iPhoneography podcast. Don't ask me which episode number because I can't remember. But as always, I'm joined by my good friend and esteemed co-host, Dave Podner. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Greg. Doing good tonight?
Oh, yes. I'm feeling much better. So last episode, I was jacked up on painkillers and stuff because I was just getting over, the COVID thing. And, it wasn't too bad. It was easily managed, and, everything's back to normal now. I've been back to work and back to work again tomorrow night. So everything's good. And what about you, Dave? You did a run recently?
Yeah. Well, I did the, it's 3 weeks ago now, since the marathon, the half. But it, for whatever reason, it's just taking me a little bit longer to recover from that bad boy.
Yeah. Well, it was probably cold.
Getting old. It was actually, believe it or not, it wasn't that cold besides the deluge of rain. But as we all know, getting old sucks. So
I can vouch for that.
Yeah. So that between that and gaining some weight, making it a little bit harder to recover, that was pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of getting old, sometimes people put together a bucket list. So tonight, as we record this, Dave and I are going to talk about our photography bucket list. And, basically it's just going to be places or things or something like that, we would like to photograph that we haven't yet, whether we ever will. Questionable, especially for me with my list, but that's what we're going to do. So what we'll do is we'll just go. How many do you have, Dave? 2 or 3?
2 or 3, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll start with one, and then we'll go to you, and then we'll go back and forth here. So the first one on my list is New York City. I would love to photograph, do some like street photography or architectural stuff in New York City. And, we'll try to, if we can, we'll try to get to see how this relates to iPhoneography. And so with something like New York City, street photography and the smartphone or especially the iPhone, they go together like hand in glove because it's so easy to do. And, people see you with a great big camera with a lens. They don't want their picture taken, but people see you with a phone. They think, no harm. Meanwhile, it could be put on the internet like instantly, but I don't know. People just haven't caught on to that, I guess. But anyway, there's lots of different things in New York City that you can do with photography, like, famous places and buildings and all that stuff. And I would just love to go there and probably spend a day or two. And that would probably be enough for this small town boy, and then get the heck out. But I would really love to photograph stuff in New York City. And I would probably have to take both of my iPhones because I would likely fill them up. There'd be a lot of shooting going on. So that's the first thing on my bucket list. So how about you, Dave? What do you got?
Well, let me comment on New York City because I went there on a school trip.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking back in 85. So we're almost talking, it's getting close to 40 years. So I didn't really bring a camera with me at the time because we're talking the mid 80s. And I was in 7th grade. So I didn't exactly have equipment. Literally the only camera I had was the 110 from my, that was really my Graham's camera that she let me use. And kids look up 110 camera.
Yeah. Kids ask your parents.
Yeah. Or grandparents probably. Depending on the age. But the Statue of Liberty was closed for renovation at the time. So I did not get a chance to go into it. Later, when was it? In late 90s, I went back again and actually was able to go up to, not all the way up, just the base of the statue. And that was something, but I didn't get to do the full touristy thing. But, just knowing New York, you could literally say, I'm going to photograph a part of a borough of New York and spend days there without even trying to hit all of New York. You can even stay away from Manhattan and just hit Brooklyn, hit the Bronx, hit, Staten Island for whatever reason. To see if I trigger anyone there. You're literally, you could say, I'm going to go to Harlem and photograph all the historic things that were happening there, or, just going to hit the bridges or go on a ferry around. It's such a massive, not just population city, but area-wise, such a massive city.
Yeah, it is.
If you try to do it all, you will just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I probably just limit it to a couple of days.
Yeah.
So I would probably try to hit the most, the more famous attractions or boroughs,
like Times Square or
streets
like that.
And stuff. Yeah, things like that. And then I would call it a shoot and get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, so what would your first one be?
Okay. Would be Kennedy Space Center during a launch. And I know they launch things all the time from there. It isn't just, the fact that you don't have to wait for a SpaceX launch or, it's just to be at a launch. And
that would be cool.
And like the vehicle assembly building they have down there, where the building where they actually put together like the Saturn V and the space shuttle, where it's a building. It's literally, if you think about it, it's a single story building because there's not floors, but the thing was tall enough that literally it's the world's largest doors. Because if you look at the building, think about the Saturn V booster that went to the moon. That thing came out one piece.
Wow.
And the doors had to open up and have this thing slide out and then close up again.
So that's crazy.
Because I've been in a job interview to down in Atlanta, just Marietta, north of Atlanta. It was an aircraft assembly for Lockheed Martin. And to see 3 or 4 planes in a row, we're not talking like small planes, we're talking big planes, big military planes in a row under this building. Pretty much almost completed, but just kind of in a row, like you're parking, like you see things being assembled. And you still get this is one giant building. And the same thing with down there, but to see a launch, which I don't know if you could even get close to doing on any cell phone, especially a night launch.
Oh, yeah.
Even a day launch, because for safety reasons, you have to be so many miles away.
Yeah.
Even support staff and everyone else has to be a couple miles away, just because of the basically sonic boom.
Oh yeah.
When they light it off, I remember reading in a book from Penn and Teller, and they described going to a launch, and it was a night launch, which would also just be mind blowing, which I know I just would give up with any camera outside of a, even a good large sensor. You would need something specialized for a night launch just because it overpowers so much. Yeah. But they basically say you see the launch start and it's the brightest light you've ever seen in your life. But it's so far away because for physical safety, you have to be like 10 miles away or something. You see this giant light and all you hear is crickets and you hear the swamp. You hear nothing going on. And then the sound hits you. You don't hear it. It literally is so forceful. It just hits you in the chest.
Yeah.
And to experience, because I know they do have the Saturn V. They have the not obviously nothing that went into space, but they have a one that they have. I think it was set up for like future Apollo missions that got canceled, idiots, on its side. So you get a feeling for how big and massive this thing was. And, just to go down there around all that, just to be around that, and especially during a launch, just to be around the excitement that's happening. Now,
that would be something.
Also to be in the control center when it's happening, but I understand that's different.
Yeah. So, do you think, in my mind, I think it might be better to video that rather than try to photograph it.
Oh, yeah.
Right, like videograph. Do a video in 4K.
Yeah,
and
for the launch itself. I would say it depends on the what they're launching, because some of the bigger rockets are not. Some of the smaller ones are quicker, but some of the bigger ones, they're so large. There's so much fuel in there. When it first kicks off, it's not, even though it's going to be going fast very soon. When it's first going off, it's going slow.
Yeah,
it is you can track it with a normal, with by hand. It's more of a matter of once it gets a few hundred feet in the sky, and then you're going, then you hear the sonic boom and it's going faster than the speed of sound. But that's also part of the problem with, until we get a periscope zoom, hopefully in the iPhone 15 would be nice. Or Apple, and I'm going to drizzle a little speculation here. Apple is, like everyone else, experiencing supply chain issues.
Oh yeah.
It's a global issue, which I'm going to say something that's going to piss people off. I'm sorry. People don't realize that this is a global issue with supply chain, at least around us. You can't say, why can't the president or why can't the prime minister fix it? Because it's not a country issue. It's a global issue. Yeah. So I don't see Apple doing a lot of hardware changes because they can't get the hardware this year. That's why you're seeing rumors like the iPhone 14, basically hardware outside of maybe the front-facing camera, which I saw rumors about that. But the back-facing cameras in the 14 are going to be really similar to the 13 or the 13 Pros.
Mm-hmm. They'll make up the difference in software.
I think the software is going to make the difference this year, which is a positive thing for a whole bunch of us, because if they're making it in software, unless it's really confined by the chip, which hopefully it won't be, right? It won't be, you could, like the cinematic mode, this is only available if you have an iPhone 13 right now, where hopefully they'll be able to make improvements and say, this is available if you have a 12, 13, or 14.
Yeah. There's going to be one thing that they'll, there's going to be that one thing that will be, specific to the new one. They'll always do that, but it'd be nice if, a lot of the refinements and improvements can spread over a few different devices. But so yeah, I mean, you're quite a distance away from a launch like that, and for obvious reasons. But that would be a real spectacle. That would be, it's one thing to see a video of it, but it's just one of those things, where you have to be there to experience it. It's like a rock concert. Like, my last rock concert was Van Halen in 2015, I think. And the venue, it was an outdoor venue that had a big roof that come, way back over the crowd. But where we were in the very last row of seats. And it was my brother and a friend of mine from work. And the friend of mine, he's a pretty big guy, like tall, really tall. So we put him right by the aisle. And so when Van Halen plays Hot for Teacher, it starts off with that drumming, that drumming sound, and the bass drums kick in and everything else. And my friend said to me, after that song was over, he leaned over and says, "Did you guys feel that?" I said, "No." He says, "I did," and because it came right up the aisleway and it was just pounding on him. It was so loud. And that's just another example of you gotta be there for the experience. So I can definitely see that when it comes to a rocket launch. So my second one, as a photography enthusiast, I'm a big fan of Ansel Adams and all that he's done. I've got a print. It's just like a copy of a print or whatever, but I have a print right up in the wall in front of me here that I got from a gallery showing of his genuine actual work a bunch of years ago. And so he was really big at photographing Yosemite National Park. So I would love to go there. And of course I would research before I went, and he photographed this spot from here, or this mountain range from this spot. And I would like to go and kind of replicate those images from those spots if I could with the phone. If I couldn't, get them very good with the phone, then I would obviously just go wherever I had to go. But I just thought it would be really cool to do some black and white work on the iPhone at Yosemite to try to replicate some of Ansel Adams' images. And, I would obviously just shoot them in RAW or whatever, but, and work on the conversions afterwards. But I just think that would be really cool. Different times of day, get the sun, as it's rising or setting, whatever the case is, for hitting Half Dome and all that stuff. And I think that would be that would be a dream shoot for me. Scott Bourne from the iPhone Photo Show, he's been there, I'm sure, many times and shot there. Probably not with his iPhone though, because he just started using the iPhone as his normal or main camera this year. But he lives just his back door looks out to Olympia National Park in Washington. So he's got, some pretty good stuff to shoot right off his back porch. But Yosemite would be something special just because Ansel Adams, made it so famous. And that would be cool. So your second one would be?
Well, I'm kind of going very similar vein here. We did not talk about this beforehand.
No, not at all.
No. Grand Canyon.
Oh, yes.
Admittedly, that's kind of, I don't want to say tacky. That's not the right word, but, it's like, of course you would do the Grand, but it's somewhere where it's different from where I'm at right now. It's similar to where, if you live out there or if you live in the desert area, you're like, well, yes, I'm familiar with it, but it would just to see the whole grandeur of it and the whole area would just kind of be mind blowing. Also, I would also say that I had a chance now, and I'll say regarding iPhone. Again, the problem is a small sensor, which is limitation of the iPhone. We all know that, and lack of zoom. So it would, I think, it would handle, the getting the feeling of the expanse. But if there was something across the way, or to really focus in on the banding as it's going down, or that would be the one limitation. Again, it's a limitation because of the size of the device, and there's really, even using a clip-on lens, there's only so much you can do. Because we've seen it too, where people will sell, and I've been tempted to try it if it was cheaper, just to see what it'd be like a 10x, 20x, 30x zoom, basically a little telescope with a mount for an iPhone, just to see what it would do. But when you got something that small, if you had a telescope mount or a spotting scope mount with a good scope, you could do something then. But then, of course, you would also have issues with the phone knowing what's best and automatically switching which lens it's looking through. So you wouldn't be able to use the default camera app with all the built-in Apple massaging. You would have to use something like, Reflex camera, something where you can say, use this lens. And then you could use that lens. And then
you could still shoot in Pro RAW too, which would give you the benefit of all that secret sauce.
Right. But that's, again, a limitation where you would have to say, for me to get the full out of this, I would have to, and then that kind of, I don't want to say ruins, but it limits what you can do, because, of course, the big advantage of the phone versus, even something compact like, a Fujifilm system, which isn't this massive camera, is the fact that if you want to go hiking on a trail, you can just put the phone in your pocket, and then you can get places without having to lug a camera around, where you have to worry a little bit more about heat and dust and everything else. Plus getting it set up and then holding something while you're, maybe holding on to it or getting close to something, versus I have a phone, boom.
Yep. That would be really something to see too. The Grand Canyon. Especially if, like you say, if you go on the trails and you go down inside the canyon, man, if I was to do that, I could see myself wearing out the panel feature of the Apple camera app. With these triple lens or triple camera phones, like the Pro phones, you can actually do 3 different types of panorama with that. You could do the ultra wide, you could do the regular wide, and you can even do a telephoto panel where you can actually, get things in closer. And I think there's a ton of possibilities there in the Grand Canyon for something like that. So that's an excellent choice. I can't believe I didn't think of it, because that's been one of my things for years, is to go see the Grand Canyon. But maybe I should take one of these other ones off and use that one. But no, that's an awesome choice. Matt Hoffman has been there, and he showed us pictures of hiking down, and there you are, you're in the desert, but yet there's snow on the ground even down in the canyon, which is crazy. That would be an amazing journey right there. So we'll do one more. I had 2 more here, and I think if I was going to pick one of the 2, okay, so both of them are, here they are. There's the UK, which is like England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, and wherever else, for the landscape, the history, all that stuff. And then my other choice was the Pacific Northwest. where they've got the giant redwood trees and all that stuff. And it's so hard to say which one I would pick over the other, but for, just tossing a coin, I'm just going to go with the Pacific Northwest for now, because those massive trees and things like that have always, amazed me with their size and their, and the mountains and everything, everything that comes with that region. I subscribe to Photo Tripper on YouTube. That's Gavin Hardcastle. And he just recently moved from that area. He's Canadian. He's a Brit, but he's in Canada. He's been, I guess he's Canadian now. He was living in BC on Vancouver Island, I think. And he moved to Nova Scotia, clear across the country. I forget how many hours and days it took. I think it took him 8 or 9 days to drive across. But anyway, so now him and his wife are, doing a reno of an old church, and that's what they bought to live in. So he's got another YouTube channel on the renovations. It's called, I think it's called Keeping Up with the Hardcastles or something, or maybe it's just the Hardcastles. I forget. But anyway, the Pacific Northwest, watching his YouTube channel, and Adam Gibbs is another one. The stuff that they photograph, the trees and not just the giant redwoods, but just the forests in general, the waterfalls, all that stuff, all that kind of thing really entices me. And what you would get out there compared to what I have in the area that I live, I kind of have some of that stuff, but not to that scale, that massive, awesome scale. So that would be something that I would put on my bucket list, is to go shoot that stuff.
I understand that completely. Actually, I have a friend who lives out there, Tina Keys, and every so often she'll do either a photo or an Instagram story of her commute into work.
Oh,
and
really?
You can see, just going public transportation on the train and on the ferry, having to go by there, and you can see the mountains in the background.
Oh, wow.
As she's going to work. And it's kind of like, wow.
Yeah. I've never seen those mountains. Like, I've never been out there to see the Rocky Mountains, but man, oh man, that would be something to see. So do you have another one?
This is something that it's not really a place. And this is partially photography. But this is just something I had a thought of, say, since I was a teenager. Of course, haven't acted on it because it's been years since I've been a teenager.
Yeah.
Basically, to visit the countries, and I don't know if I can get it down to locations in the countries where I have ancestry in.
Oh.
Now, some countries I would not go to now for safety reasons.
Okay, yeah.
Looking at Russia. But, like I said, I know a few years ago, I forget how many years ago it was now, my dad went on a Mediterranean cruise, and he was able to go to Croatia.
Oh, okay.
And tour some of the areas in that area, like the Dalmatian coast. Mm-hmm. But just because I hit a good amount of, the problem is that like some people know, like, oh, my family came from not just, France, but from this part and from this village, or, I got some Scotch Irish in me, so they could say, oh, I'm clan so-and-so from this area, and I'm this area.
Yeah,
I don't know
too.
that much. You don't know that much. I know literally, you're talking French, German, Lithuanian, Croatian, Russian, Scotch Irish.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty much Heinz 57 in Europe. But, just to hit some of those areas. And I know this won't happen, unfortunately. but like Ruth's dad came over from Hungary in 56. And he still has family over there. Not many left with us anymore because he's in his early 80s. But, to see literally the village he grew up in,
Yeah, that would be cool.
It's still there. In fact, occasionally, a couple of years ago, we were still occasionally, very occasionally, because they don't have cell phones. Well, they don't have smartphones. They also don't have home internet. So they have no internet at home. They have flip phones, literally 20-year-old type flip phones. But occasionally, for holidays, we did Skype back and forth. Now, part of the problem is they knew it's very little bit of English, and Ruth's dad barely remembered Hungarian. But, just to see, because occasionally we did use the typing and Google Translate to type in and say, okay, that's what you mean. Oh, okay, yeah. Just because, honestly, he's been over here since 1956. So
yeah, that's a long time.
That's a long time. He's been here 65 some years almost. He's been in this country. So, and there were a lot of Hungarians who spoke Hungarian in Pittsburgh when he first came over, but really not for the last, 40 plus years. The local, like there used to be Hungarian clubs and Polish clubs and Croatian clubs where they spoke the language to keep all that started to go away in the 80s. So he speaks English for the last, how many decades. So he has trouble understanding Hungarian still. But just to go over there and say, okay, this is where your dad grew up type thing. And just to see what that area is like, that would be kind of neat. Yeah. Again, something different from what you're used to around here.
You know what? And the photography opportunities there would be amazing too, because, the history and, the different types of architecture, same as we have here. It would be just amazing. So, so that would be basically another dream come true.
Yeah.
So, well, that's, probably a small portion of our bucket lists, and this idea of talking about these things just came to me as I was walking the dog before we came on the air tonight. And I thought, there's got to be something that we wanted to shoot, or places to go, with the cameras to record and photograph and things like that, places we've never been before. And sure enough, we've got a few, and those are them. Alrighty, so now we'll look at our recent photos. And I said at the last show, let us know what you think of this. I haven't heard of anything. So either you love it, or you don't like it and you're not saying nothing. But we like talking about our pictures because we, like Dave and I, live in two different countries. We're in two different worlds, basically. I'm in a small town. He's just outside of Pittsburgh, I guess. But basically part of Pittsburgh, really, from what I can gather. And it's, a bigger city, and there's a lot more for Dave to shoot. But I've got a lot more, maybe rural things to shoot where I am. So we like to look at each other's pictures and talk about them and things like that. And again, we'd love to get your feedback on this. So, with every episode, we've got our social media links, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you feel you might want to get a hold of us. There's even a contact form on the podcast website at iPhoneography.ca. So you can reach out to us there too. But, we're going to take a look at 3 pictures each here. And I'm always very interested to see what Dave has. So, Dave has sent me 3. And this first one looks pretty interesting. Like, these trees alone, Dave, are
Yeah,
freaking cool.
And that's really what caught my eye here. This is actually all three pictures are from the Oakland neighborhood in Pittsburgh. And this is where the University of Pittsburgh is, also Carnegie Mellon, and Carlo, but pretty much around here is around the University of Pittsburgh. And this area is called Schenley Plaza. Kind of behind where I'm taking the picture of goes off to Schenley Park, one of the city parks. And for a lot of years, this was a parking lot. Just to the right of here is the Carnegie Museum, Natural History and Fine Arts, and the library. And just to the left is the Law College for Pitt. And this was just a big old flat parking lot for a lot of years. And first, people, when they want to make it into more of a plaza where it would be just more inviting than a lot of people are like, well, you're taking away parking from us. This is horrible. We won't have anywhere to park. And you're like, sometimes you don't need just a parking lot. So this was a major renovation, and they converted. There's a part. There's different walking paths. There's these, and I don't know what kind of red leaf ground cover this is.
It looks really cool.
Oh, it is. It is. And there's a carousel there, and they have different little food kiosk and places you can eat in the plaza too.
Yeah.
So it makes a nice, and especially since you're literally right across the street from one of the main buildings of Pitt's campus. Now, admittedly, school's out now, so I took this midday on a Wednesday. But school's out, school's out for the year. But when school's in, Pitt's, I don't know, 20-some plus thousand students. This is a popular place because it's kind of central to campus. There's little eateries here that's a little bit different. It's outdoors, so you can get some fresh air, kind of enjoy what's going on between class type thing. It's real close to the student union, too. And it's not that far away from the main dorms. So it's kind of a central location. And, the merry-go-round is a little touristy, maybe. I don't know how many of the college students actually use it, but, I could see it definitely being used, and it's a nice little area to get a little, little bit of nature close by.
What I like too is not just the ground covering, but these trees, like the strange looking bark on them. And again, listeners, just pick up your phone and look at it, and you'll be able to see this in your podcast player, at least if it's Apple Podcasts, Overcast, and I think Pocket Casts, I think, are the three that I know of that work. And you can see what we're talking about here. The bark on this tree, it almost looks like a calico cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's different levels too. So some of the darker bark is actually raised up over the kind of medium brown, and the lighter one's kind of even lower down. So it's got a dimensionality about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's nice to see that they've taken a parking lot and done something with it rather than just leave it, right, as an empty space where nobody can enjoy it. And, so, have you been here in the fall?
Not really.
I've been. I just wondered if
I've been past it, I should say, but I have not been in the fall to see the color change. No.
Okay.
And to be honest, when class is in, the traffic is just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah.
Because unlike some college campuses where you have the campus separated from the city, this is in the middle of the city. So not only is the Oakland neighborhood main university setting. It's also where a lot of the hospitals are. And like I said, the museum is right by it also. So again, I have no problem with a lot of hubbub. It's just parking is a bit of a pain in the butt, and traffic is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But that's but that's the kind of a trade-off you get with being around a lot of people with a lot of interesting structures.
Yeah. Well, I like the way you framed it. The dividing line basically between the foreground and the background is in the middle, but it works with this image because compositionally you've got a big tree, like the trunk of a tree or whatever, right there in the foreground on the right. And then further back to the left, you've got another tree, and the foreground just covers everything on the bottom half. And then you've got the carousel and then more trees in the background, which balances it out pretty good, I'd say. So I would say kudos on that one. And this was interesting. The second one here, it's I don't know. I'm not sure what it is, but it looks like almost looks like a lamp post or something.
That's pretty much all it is a lamp. So this is inside the Carnegie Library, going from the first floor to the second. And this is just on the landing of the steps that it's basically a lamppost. But it's the library is connected up to the Natural History Museum and the Carnegie Music Hall. So it was built in the late 1880s, 1890s. I should know the date, but I don't offhand. But it's where it's before, we're building something, it has to be modern and sleek and all that. So there's tons of all these little details where it's very ornate, pretty much over the top ornate. Because this is, like I said, this structure is literally a lamppost and there's giant windows behind me. So there's not really a massive need for a lot of light. But you can also see kind of in the background, on the wall to the left, you can see the pattern that's in the wall for the cutout, and a little bit of the ceiling there. You can see the really ornate work on that. So, this is an old structure where they actually did a lot of the extra ornate, over the top looks to things. And
that's the times that it was in,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And I love the dark. I always like the dark metal look for things, for decorations. You can see the really, really dark metal, lots of ornamentation on this, lots of little details, and the carvings kind of lit up there. And I just like how it looked there, and it just fits in the space too.
Now, I would have thought, just looking at this, that it was wood, but painted black.
It might be, honestly, it might be.
But it looks like it could be metal.
But I remember we had things in our house that were like this, but they were metal in our old house growing up. But it's hard to say, to be honest. And I didn't get close enough to touch it. And I could probably touch it and no one noticed, but just out of curiosity. But yeah, it's either like you said, it's either like an ebony wood or wood that's painted black. I can see the age being just ebony wood. If it is wood, or like I said, or metal, or some kind of carved metal on that too.
But the craftsmanship is just crazy good, isn't it?
It is.
And the last thing you want to do is touch it and have something fall off.
Or leave fingerprints, or I just want to,
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's really cool, and just the whole place looks like it would be so interesting. Now, did you just use the regular wide on that, or the ultra wide?
I used the ultra wide on this one. And one thing I tried to make sure when I use the ultra wide is to to make sure I don't go near the edges, because there is, even with the newest, around the, if you go around the edging of the ultra wide, there's still a little bit of bowing you got to watch out for, and little distortion. Mm-hmm. So, that's still an issue right there. So if I'm doing something, I'm making sure that it's in the center and I have a border where if I have to crop it, I can crop it and still make it look good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm also a little bit, because the ultra wide still not as good with the low light as the wide, made sure it's lit well enough.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely interesting. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just something to kind of get your eye. And honestly, if you're just walking up the steps, it's one thing that you just may miss.
Yeah, for sure.
Walking up and down the steps. So it's kind of, it's not, again, it's something that's imposing, but it's not just hitting you right in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. So how tall would that be?
Oh, it's got to be 7-8 feet, maybe. At least.
Well, that's a good height. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say at least. I'm a horrible judge for distance, to be honest, and size. I would definitely say that. To give you a little bit of a scale, though, you can see in the background the arch that's up there, and you can see a seat behind it. That's a normal size seat.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something that catches your eye, though.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay, so the third one is quite interesting. Now, just for a sense of scale, are those regular sized bricks in behind?
They are, yes.
So this is pretty big then.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And this is outside of one of the buildings for the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. This building was built, I think, in the 50s. And it was a way to, this is outside, again, it's outside of one of the buildings for the medical center, the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. And it's outside the building. It's again, 1950s, 1960s, where they don't have a lot of ornamentation on the outside, but they did this very unusual statue, for lack of a better word. I don't know what you would call it. I don't want to call it a figurine, but kind of showing, the idea is to show it's a skeletal figure of a person with some geometric kind of wedges around it.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. It's like I say, it's really interesting and really gets you thinking, like, what could this possibly represent?
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about art.
Yeah. Now, I was able to get some details. It's called Man by Virgil Cantinelli. Symbolizes the human quest for knowledge with special reference to the international research in health fields. So, the peaks represent the elevation of humanity above the mundane, or peaks of knowledge. And the building that is in front of it, let's see here. 1957. And it was supposed to house the Graduate School of Public Health. So the idea was to show, public health elevating humankind above the mundane.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And
like I said,
it's
the rest
neat
of the building. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can see, it looks like 3 ribs coming around on each side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just, because it was a really sunny day that day, you can see the really harsh shadow on it. But you have the different kind of rings going around. And it is, like I said, it really does stand out. And, I'm not one into a lot of abstract art for myself, but I do see a big, I hate to say usefulness out of it, because you're not trying, with abstract art, you're not trying to be useful, but something where it actually makes you think. It grabs your attention, it shakes you, and it makes you think. And I think that is important to do. to make
Yeah.
people think, to get out of your, safety zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I did do some editing on this to make it a little more dramatic looking. Also, like I said, it was just this is one of our very unusual days where it was exceptionally bright and sunny. There was no cloud in the sky that day.
Yeah.
So it was, the lighting for the original was a little harsh. So I did a good amount of editing to bring out the contrast a little bit more. And not just have it washed light.
Yeah, well, it's a cool image, and like you say, it gets you thinking and makes you kind of take a pause and contemplate art. And I would say mission accomplished there.
Yeah.
So I got 3 here, and the first one, of course, go figure, is a macro. So it's at first look, it looks like a dandelion, but I think it's actually a variant of the daisy, but I'm not 100% sure. And but it's basically just a macro of a yellow flower. Takes up. I cropped it 16:9, and it just takes up most of the frame. And there's this grass in the background, but I focused on the little stamen that, all these little stamens or whatever that come out from the center. And I just think that they make the better focal point than, say the edges of the petals at the background, or whatever. So this was with the, I believe it was the long range macro from Reflex. And I shot it with Reflex, of course. And I believe I had it on my telephoto camera. And this was just when I was out walking the dog the other day. And I thought, I looked down, you see there's dandelions everywhere, or what appear to be dandelions. I don't know. I guess most of them are. But these yellow flowers were right along a fence line. So I just crouched down and told the dog to wait for me. Just wait a minute while I took the shot. And I used the focus peaking to get the focus on the stamen, and took the shot. So the only editing I did really was the crop, and then I kind of darkened down the shadows and lightened up the highlights a little bit to just make it pop a little better. Maybe saturated it a little bit too. So
and then I love I'm assuming that's pollen that you can see on the actual stamen itself.
Yeah, I would say it is. Yeah.
Which is amazing that you can pick that up. It really is.
Yeah. These macro lenses, that they're fantastic for picking up stuff that, I wouldn't have even seen these stamen. That's what I'm going to call them, because I'm pretty sure that's what they are. These little, they're little stems that come up, and they have 2 curls that come around, one going one way and the other going the other way. And I wouldn't have even seen those just casually walking by. And that's what I love about macro photography is, you stop and you take a look at something, and then you get down, get it, in the viewfinder with the lens or whatever, or even with the 13 Pros with the macro feature, you can see stuff that you just normally wouldn't see. So yeah, it's pretty cool. This second one. So the local photography club, we do these monthly assignments, and for this month it's golden hour. So a few of us got together down by the harbor front, and we just walked around and just started shooting things just lit by the sun. The things weren't necessarily supposed to have the sun in the shot, but the color temperature of the sun, getting near sunset, everything turned gold or had a nice warm look to it. So this is a dock down by the boat launch, and I just made sure that the sun was in behind it. These frames that that I guess the boaters use. They can use these things to lift their boats in and out of the water or whatever. And so I put my phone on the tripod and used the long exposure feature in reflex. And this was a 16-second shot. And all I did really for editing was, I don't think it's cropped, but all I did was, a bit of contrast. And, I think I might have boosted the color a little bit. But other than that, there's not much done to it. So, but I just like the way the water smoothens out in the background, and it's kind of in harsh contrast to everything in the image that is still, like the dock and the wires and cables and things like that, and even the background.
I would say when I first saw the image, I was going to ask about the water itself, because it almost has like a fabric look to it with the texture.
Yeah. Now, if I had to let this exposure go for like 2 minutes, it likely would have smoothened right out to where it looked like, almost like the felt on a pool table. But this was only 15 seconds. So there was a lot of movement in the water, not big waves or anything, but there was a lot of rippling movement in the water. And, at 15 seconds, this was the result. So now that I'm thinking about it, I should have done like a 2 or 3 minute exposure just to see what the difference would be like. But it was getting cold that night. It was a cold evening, so I wasn't sticking around too long.
Can't blame you on that one.
Yeah. So this last one is one that I've been waiting a long time to get. And it's a picture of my new grandson. This is Jameson. And finally got to meet him. I was sick for a while, so I couldn't meet him then. But, after I recovered and everything was fine, I was able to. But basically what we did was we coordinated a visit out at my parents' place with my son and his wife and the little guy. And, it was my dad's birthday. So it was a great time for everybody to meet him, because my dad and my parents, my mom and dad, hadn't met him yet either. So we got to meet him at the same time. And that was a real special moment. So, of course, being the photography nut I am, I took, I don't know how many pictures of him, and he slept pretty much through the whole day or the whole visit. We were there probably about 3 hours. And, and so this is, my mom is holding him here. So he's, there he is with his great grandmother. You can't see her, but I mean, and I took this with portrait mode so that I can stand back a little bit and not be like right down in his face, but it gives the background a nice blur. So, and all I did with this one is I cropped a little bit off the top and off the left-hand side. And, gosh, you know what? I don't think I did anything else to it. I played around with the, like the auto magic tool or whatever in photos, but it just kind of made it too bright. So I just turned that back off and pretty much left it. So, but yeah, that's the little guy. He's doing really well, and I have yet to get a good picture of him with his eyes open. Yes, so hopefully soon. So that's what I've been shooting in the last little while, and it's been fun. And like I say, folks, let us know what you think. Are we losing you on looking at these, or do you like them and whatever? Like, let us know. We really do want to know, and give us some feedback honestly, on the show in general.
It's not going to hurt our feelings.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah,
we got pretty thick skin.
We're both old married men, so we're used to it.
Yeah, that's right. So, okay. I wanted to mention too that as you've probably seen by now, if you're a subscriber to the show, that David Addison has a new episode out. Nice to see that from David again. And he's talking to a developer from Sweden, and his name escapes me. His last name is Adolphson, but he's a developer of an app called Minutiae, and it's spelled different than it sounds, I think. But if you've heard the show, you already know what it's about. But if you haven't heard his show yet, you know what? There's a link to the YouTube video on the podcast's YouTube channel where you can see a little bit better of what they're talking about. And David shows a few things. Like he goes for about maybe 5 or 10 minutes before he brings his guest in, and he talks about things that he's been doing too. So, and he's showing some photos, so stuff that you won't see or you won't get on the audio, but you'll see it on the YouTube channel. So, click the link in the description of this podcast, and you'll see what he's been up to, and you'll get a better idea of what this app is all about. If you're into journaling or, it's kind of like a social thing, but not really. It was really interesting. It's not really for me per se, but it's kind of interesting what this developer is put together. And, I don't want to give it away too much, but it's not something that it's like a project. It's like a project that you do over time. Let's put it that way. So it's kind of an interesting thing. And, if you go for it, I think you'll have fun with it, especially if you like something like journaling and logging daily activities and stuff like that. But it's not as bad as you think. It doesn't take up too much time. So kind of an interesting thing. So glad to see David's got another show out about that. And let's see what else. I think that was about it. I don't think I wanted to mention anything else. Anything else you want to bring up, Dave, before we go? And you're muted.
There we go. And our next show is actually scheduled for night 1 of WWDC.
Oh,
so we are 2 weeks away from WW. So it will be interesting to see, like I said, just based on supply chain issues. If anyone's going to make any jump forward, it's got to be software this year.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing. That's the one thing Apple can control. It controls the leaks from because it's all internal. So as long as they don't piss off too many of their software engineers with their return to work, which they have pissed off some people with the return to work.
Well, they've laxed on that though, I thought too, didn't they?
Well, they laxed on it. And they laxed on it because COVID cases are going up again.
Oh yeah,
we're entering the 6th wave now. Mm-hmm. So we had a good month and a half that was not a wave, but we're back on another wave now. So they had to do that just because things are going to start getting bad again, unfortunately. So yeah, that wasn't so much listening to your employees, but hearing the amount of people are getting sick again, having to do it just for health reasons.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So, there was a lot of people that didn't want that wanted to work from home anyway. Yeah. It seems so.
Oh no.
And why not?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we can go over the whole, is it better to work from home? What, you do miss the, I'm bumping into someone in the hallway type thing, which I know Apple loves, but.
Yeah. And the water cooler talks and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, you do miss that. But to be honest, at least my department, people didn't know we were even located in our building. And our building is significantly, Yeah, we would talk to people and they would say, "Oh, we want to go over to where you're located. Where is your department at?"
Oh yeah.
Where are you in the building? So, I still don't. Yeah, I think it's overrated, but that's just me. And you got to listen to your employees, especially now when unemployment is at least in the U.S. in the 3% range. Pretty much, you almost have. The problem is lack of workers, not necessarily lack of employment opportunities. So it's a tight job market, and if you have people that you're working for and they can find something, if someone's a good employee and has value skills, they'll be able to find something if you do not give them a good working environment, especially someone working at Apple. They'll be, so that's the one thing they gotta be careful they don't piss off too many engineers and they run afoul of that. But
so is the WWDC main keynote on the 6th?
It is, yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. I'll be home for that.
Or at least it almost, I would say it's normally it's night one. The public ones, day one. And then they have the state of the platform and everything. But yeah, it should be Monday the 6th. It should be Monday the 6th.
Okay, good. All right. Well, guess what our show will be about that night.
Yep, it is going to be mostly virtual. It's going to WW will be virtual again, except for a few amount of people they are going to bring in. At least that was the plan. If we peak, they may say no, we're not going to bring in, but we'll let you have one-on-one Zoom meetings with some engineers, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's going to be that'll be a fun one. That'll be an interesting conversation for that night. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. And thanks for reminding me of that because I generally I knew Dub was coming up, but I wasn't sure when exactly. But also, I'm definitely going to have to put it in my calendar to watch that.
At least for me, May's a weird month because you go so quickly from first part of May, then all of a sudden, it's more my work schedule where it goes boom, boom, boom. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute. It's May 23rd.
Yeah.
We have Memorial Day in the U.S. We have Memorial Day in the U.S. next week. This weekend coming.
And it's ours is today. We have our, we call it Victoria Day. It's today.
Okay. And so it's like, and the unofficial start of summer is in a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how it flies by.
And then Colorado had a foot of snow a couple days ago.
Oh wow! Well, Colorado can keep it.
Well, yeah. We're done with that stuff. Yeah, they went from 80 degrees, and then 2 days later they had a foot of snow.
Holy, that's crazy. The poor birds.
It's completely messed. It's weird. Yeah. But yeah, so it's kind of like, oh, by the way, Dub's in 2 weeks. Like, excuse me, what?
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, tell everybody where they can find you, Dave.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as ProfPod and occasionally on TikTok as ProfPodPGH.
Alrighty. And you can find me on Twitter at Macmillan_photo, on Instagram, Macmillan Photo. And, all my online stuff will be at about.me/Macmillan. And the podcast lives on iPhoneography.ca. And I think I'm caught up on the posts for the episodes. I know I have to put David's on and then this one. Hopefully I'll have them on in the really near future. But, we'll get this episode out as quick as we can. You know what? Last week I said I was going to just post them, say, on Thursday or something like that. We record Monday night. And I was going to say, okay, I'll get them ready and then I'll have them scheduled to release on, say, like a Wednesday or a Thursday. But in my usual impatient self, last episode, I just put it out when I had it done. So I think I'll just put them out when they're ready. And so they could be coming into your feed Tuesday, could be Wednesday, just depends on when I can get everything together. So, thanks for listening. And, if you want, you could always go to the podcast app and leave us a little review and maybe even a 5-star rating. But don't feel obligated. But anyway, we do appreciate the listeners. And, you can also find us, Dave and I, over at the iPhonePhotoTeam.com, where Scott Bourne and Jefferson Graham host their little community over there. So it's a booming little place, too. They've just hit 500 members, I believe, a day or two ago. So check us out over there and join up even. It's a great little community, just like everywhere else you can find us. the iPhoneography podcast group on Facebook and who knows where else. But thanks again, Dave. Good talk, and we'll see you on the next one.
Have a good one, everyone.